So let's continue the altered book. I need to film this in a bit of an angle just because I really need to get a closer look at the book, because yesterday I'm really in a kind of a huff to start doing things with the book. So what I did was I glued it's a picture I made, I painted, and I just glued a print of it on the note on this book, but and then I kind of, because the colors is not the same, you know, when you print things. So I went through with white paint, and when I applied a matte varnish to the pages so they don't, you know, stick together, because there was acrylic paint on either side of a page, the most recent paint turned out in shades of pink for a reason I will never understand. So I'll have to probably go through that at some point. And I added these are some pages from old books that are already disintegrating into nothingness practically. I added some papers, gessoed some papers. This is from an old maths book, and some of the pages are really sturdy. So I did just a small section in the beginning and another in the back, and I glued some extra pages in the middle. Usually when you do an altered book, opt for one that isn't quite as thick, because it pays to know something about the structure of bookbinding before you start altering, therefore weakening the very structure of your book. So what is better is to start with a thinner book. If you do a thicker book like I do now, you do it not chronologically from the beginning to the end, but you go through one, you know, little by little. You go through some pages unless you know what you're going to use it for. I'm just doing this on a whim. I'm playing with this. I'm being messy. I really don't care. I still have plenty of these original pages, nothing on them. And then I have some pages that already have some kind of a something going on. And I'm probably going to paint or write or do something on the pages. I have no idea. I'll figure that out when I get there. But what you do is, when you do something like gluing pages or something, you start a section in the beginning, and then you do some on the other end, and then you do something in the middle. Like here in the middle, I have a very thick, there's a good couple of, I think there's maybe 4 pages glued together here, and it's really, it's like cardboard. I glue them with a you know, PVA glue. But you know, no matter how much I'd like to have an endeavor with the insides of the book, it has become increasingly obvious that the integrity of the structure of the book needs to be minded, because as you can see, the cover is practically giving up on its life. It's not as bad here on this side as on the front cover. This is really bad. And as you can see now that I've only taken away the middlemost papers, you know, from the middle of the fold of each signature, and I've glued the connecting pages. So let me explain. So you have a paper. This is a paper. And when you fold it in two, this is a folder. When you stack these papers inside of each other, you get signatures. And the thickness of a signature depends on how many folders there are in the signature. And when you put, say, this is another signature, let's just play, together. Then you glue these pages that are kind of a brushing shoulders with the next signature. These are the 2 pages you need to glue together, therefore making the, as this is very old and very rickety book, much more strong. So now it's like, you know, I don't know, I might add a little bit of a glue or a mull, I don't know yet, to the spine, but honestly I don't think I need to, because you know, the book block, this is called block, it's not as wibbly wobbly as it was before. It's actually quite sturdy. I'm really happy with this. What isn't sturdy is the cover. How the cover is connected to the book is, what you have is, first you bind, let me show you. First you bind a, this is just cotton fabric, never you mind about that. But you have a book block, and you put the book block inside of the cover, and these will be your pages to the cover. The cover is never sewn, you know, when you do a book like this, the cover is never sewn together with the book. How do you do that is, you take the book block, and then what you do, let's see if I have it here. Then what you do is, you take an extra sheet of paper, like this has been the very last page of this book block, and you take, and usually this is called the end paper. Usually the end paper is much stronger than the pages, you know, the very pages of the book. You take an end paper, fold it into, and you glue it. That's why you have these strange pages, and everyone's always mystified, like, why are these 2 glued together? Because they have to. These are the end papers. They need to be connected to the book block. So it's, let's imagine this is the last page of the book block. You take an end paper, fold it in half, you apply PVA glue about, you know, ½ centimeter throughout the line. Imagine something like 1/8 of an inch, and you glue the end paper to the very edge of your book block. You press it down. This has nothing to do with covers yet. You press it down and you leave it be. Then when it's dried out, you will see that now this has been glued, like this is, to the last or the first page of the book block. It's almost like they are slightly, it's like now there's this holy matrimony of bookbinding. Now you have your end paper there. Now this is the other side of the end paper, this is the other side. Now you take your covers that you've prepared and you apply glue to the back side of this book cover, and just, you know, you have the book block and you fix it together, and with a bone folder or whatever it is that you're using, you are gluing the other side of this end paper to the cover, and bibbidi bobbidi boo, you have, after the pressing and drying, you now have an actual book on your hands, a finished book. Granted, there are other, you know, steps to go through, but this is kind of like, in a nutshell, how do you go from book block to a book. Now, the only thing keeping this together is, I don't know, odd chance and good luck, because really the glue has worn significantly down, and thanks to the strength of this end paper, the book block is still somewhat configured together with the covers. So in a case like this, I mean, this is not restoring an old book. I'm sorry, my cat is being impossible. She's been alone for a couple of minutes now, and that's the end of the world to her. We're talking about a sphinx. They are built differently. So this is not a restoration of an old book. This is an altered book that is going to experience a whole new kind of a life. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take a sharp blade and just twirl this puppy around. Cut the book block apart from the covers so I can strengthen it and then return the duo together. It's always interesting, especially with old books. I'm always looking for, is there something I can learn from? Now, they've used linen-based tape when constructing the book. It's not really sticky, it's just a linen strip, as you can see. I love linen strips. I'm just surprised there's only, 4 places of stitching in the book block. It's not very common. I'm surprised. The paper is completely coming apart. Now, when it comes to repairing anything papery, my favorite method, actually this is not it, is mulberry paper. It's very thin, it's very flexible and very sturdy. And when it gets wet with PVA glue, it still holds on. It's wafer thin. It's really, really, really thin. And unlike some other thin papers, you would think parchment paper would do the thing. It's actually the quite opposite. It practically crumbles if you glue it. It crumbles and it's just completely useless. I'll see what I do about the book block itself, but we need to, as we can see, the cover is coming completely apart. And what do I do here now is, let's see if I can just take it like, no, I'm gonna do the ruler thing. It'll be that much cleaner, not that in the end it doesn't really matter. Can feel where there are those linen strips. So we need to mend this, and now I see we need to mend this, because you see the usually mull is used to cover the book block. Mull is a very gauzy, it's kind of a mesh-y fabric, but now it doesn't really, the old paper, with the old paper like this, it just crumbles down eventually. It just, it disintegrates practically. it just it doesn't do any use to glue it back together, because the binding kind of a force in the paper is way far gone. A application of PVA glue alone would do the trick, but that really isn't. Let's see. You can't, you know, this doesn't have to be very intricate in a way, because we are not in business of restoration here. You can get the tweezers and get all kinds of nitty-gritty, but actually now I'm glad to see that something is being left here. Something is glued together. You see, there's not even end tapes here. Usually books have end tapes. The job for an end tape is to, well, strengthen the book, strengthen the binding of the glue of the book and everything. I'm not going to be adding a end tapes here, because you know that's counterproductive. We're already taking away pages and already changing, etc. The structure of the book is going to keep on changing, and how I am going to go about this is, as I do use this book, I'm going to see that the block stays squarish. It's not square right now because I've taken away pages, but when more material comes in, I doubt I'll be adding tassels or anything fuzzy and furry, etc. But granted, there'll be, you know, there'll be paint, there'll be other papers. I don't know what will come up. It's now summertime, so, but I still do have some dried plants, some dried flowers. They may appear. You just never know what happens. But anyways, there is going to be more material here inside of the book block. So as I go along and I find the need to take away more pages, I will immediately then go and find the center of signature and take in somewhat measured. You can kind of fold and see this is A1 paper. So when I do that, I will go and take away pages evenly all throughout the block, not just from the beginning, not just from the back, not just from the middle, because again, you need to have some kind of a strength to the integrity of the book. So let me see. I think the thing is, what I do have here is the same cotton fabric. I might as well use this, just so that I don't have to kind of start to hover about. I could, you know, this could be enough. This would be enough. Let's just do this. I'm going to do this now here. It's not that, you know, big of a hairy deal to begin with. The cover I'm going to do with the mulberry paper, because I don't want there to be any kind of an extra blockiness. It needs to be kind of a very lean situation, whatever we're doing, and the glue alone is going to have an effect on the end result. I'm just going to square up the see, this is the thing with old books, you just never know what you find before you open them. Sometimes you open them because you want to mend the covers. Sometimes you need to rebind. You know, there's all sorts of things you need to do, you know. They're much like people. We need some extra TLC every now and then. Books are no different in that case. And when you care for something, you love something or someone, you want to take care of them, don't you? So let's do the book block first. Now I didn't take the supports. Let's make a makeshift support and another. There we go. But I do need the glue now. It's gonna take forever. Much too impatient for this. This, by the way, is what I call my painting table. It's an old oak table, weighs a ton. It's just the best. I've used it as my painting table for, I don't know, the longest time, as you probably can see from the, you know, amount of paint on it. This will stiffen the book block somewhat as well, and I'll just have to kind of have a conversation with the signatures and the how much the book is, because you know, you may have a book that is it opens in a very friendly way, and one of the reasons can be that the spine, you know, the thingy thing I'm painting with glue at the moment, that the spine, the construction, the integrity of the spine is being compromised. So some of the bound books are very hard to open, and that can be that there are several layers of glue and all kinds of support within the spine. So how usually this is done is, first you apply a layer of paint, you press it, you dry it, then you add another layer of paint, and now you add the mull. Or you can add supporting strips of material like very fibrous paper. There's all kinds of, you know, depending of a binder, him or herself, it depends. People like to use different methods to go about these things. I'm going to lay only this layer of paint. I see I need to work very fast. This is a very thirsty paper, I've noticed. It's like it just guzzles up the paint, the glue immediately, the paint, the whatever material is going on. And I'm going to lay this down here in the very middle, and then additional pieces to the very edges. And you need to be mindful about the stitching as well. Okay, so the other end is lacking just a little bit of the paint. Let's see, let's remedy the situation. This would be a great time when you don't have the end tapes. This would be an excellent time for you to add a bookmark, should you wish. I don't think I'm going to be needing one to this block. Clean up the framing somewhat. And what are we going to do with the flappy friends here? I don't think I'm going to need this. Or rather I would, but it's just a one lonely linen strip, and I don't think it's going to be that much useful alone. And then we'll fold it down. Okay, where did I put my bone folder? There it is. And you pull away from the spine, smoothing every wrinkles, crinkles, what have yous. And the other side. And after we're done, I'm going to put this underneath weights. In other words, I have series of fairy tales that come with great gravitas. Sorry about that. And I'm going to use those books. Also, travel books are great if you have. I have some architecture books and art books, etc. Or you can have a press made especially for the occasion. I just always tend to use whatever I have. So there, now we have a glued book block. There it is. I'm going to put it underneath the pressure and leave it there until we are all kinds of good and ready and healed. And after we're done with that, we need to figure out what to do with the covers.